Hi there, Walker from Timbertone here. Welcome to the workshop. In this video, I make a storage cabinet for my turning tools. I want the cabinet to hang right in a corner above the lathe and have the door hinge open to the adjacent wall, all while maintaining a tight joint appearance between the hinge pieces on the inside. To achieve this, I'm hinging the door from inside the cabinet and using what I guess you'd call a concealed scarf joint. This joint should give a nice neat appearance inside when open and maintain a full width look across the front when closed. The tight hinging radius also means the cabinet can sit right up to both corners of the wall. So let's get started. My workshop is too small and full to effectively break down large sheet stock. More space and a great table saw setup would be good, but I'm working with what I've got, so out in the sunshine we go. The saw cuts are right on the largest finished dimensions, making straightness absolutely critical. I haven't got any specialised gear for this, so I'm multi-purposing some concrete screeds with some clamps to set up fences for the saw to ride against. And this actually works pretty well. Now I'd set up everything to suit my battery saw, only to find out it had given up the ghost. So we'll swap that one out for something a little more copacetic, make some quick adjustments to the setup, get some juice going, and we're cooking with gas. With the bulk of the carcass cut from the full sheet, the rest of the breakdown can happen in the workshop. Using the dedicated machines just makes the whole process much quicker, easier, and more accurate. All good. I decided to start on the larger, wall-mounted section, as I thought it would be easiest to check and adjust the door panel sizing against this piece, than vice versa. And as always, a quick mock-up beforehand to ensure everything is ready to roll. Now that we're back on track, the glue up can finally start. I'm using brad nails to hold the pieces together while the glue dries, and to add a bit of extra strength to the joints. With the back section made, it's onto the front door. This went together basically as planned, but I did end up with a bit of a blowout right front and centre. A couple of taps and the offending nail was punched and pulled out. The flap glued and clamped back down with the excess sanded away to hide a multitude of sins. And that's not just good, mate. That's good enough. Now the finish prep can start. The edges are all planed flush and the nail holes puttied up. I've chosen a putty slightly darker than the raw ply veneer, as the finish will darken the timber but have no effect on the putty. In the end, this should be a pretty good match. With the prep completed, the finish can now be applied. As usual, I'm going with my old mate, a tung oil polyurethane blend. I really like how the finish works on and cures. There's still a timber look and feel to the surface once dry, but the coating is more resilient than oil alone, without the plasticky finish of urethane only. I was 6s and 7s on how to best fix the hinges. I wasn't feeling keen enough to mortise the hinge knuckles, so I tried offsetting the position by the knuckles size. My first crack at the title was the wrong way around, so the hinges were moved across, moving the offset slop in the joint to the unseen tops and bottoms. It doesn't have to be right, just has to look right. Regardless of where the hinges were fitted, the outermost section of the door joint had to be cleaned up to clear the wall where the cabinet would be fitting. This was just planed off until enough had been removed and will be practically unnoticeable when fitted in the corner. To hold the tools in place, I'm using some magnetic bars. The closest suitable length I could get easily was slightly too long, so I opted to cut them down to suit. This turned out to be much harder than I anticipated. The magnets were quite good and tended to stick the tools, They also kept the majority of the swarf in the cut, necessitating the saw be forced through, which I have to say is not how you use a hacksaw, or any saw at all for that matter. But after some perseverance and choice words, they were cleaned up and fitted quite nicely in the end. The last piece of hardware for the cabinet was a latch to keep the doors closed. Again, I splashed out and went for brass and was pretty happy with the result. So time to hang it. The cabinet is already pretty weighty and will only get heavier once it's packed full of tools. There will also be considerable pulling force to get the larger tools off the magnets, so it needs to be fixed to the existing studs in the wall. The swing of the door crosses over the rear corner of the lathe, so I'm setting the cabinet to a comfortable height for access that won't foul on the lathe when opening. All of the framing in the shed is native hardwood, so every fixer needs to be pre-drilled or it simply wouldn't drive in. The first pre-drilled hole also helps locating the cabinet in the correct spot, and after a bit of stuffing around, I managed to drive it into position. Once everything's plumb, the remaining fixers can get pre-drilled and driven home. The last thing to sort is the door's tendency to slump in. To fix this, I'm installing another cabin hook to the wall to catch the door's staple when it's open. With the cabinet installed, comes time to stock it. The bulk of my turning tools really aren't much chop, so I decided to tool up and splashed out on some new high quality ones. Now to just turn some handles. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.